So good morning and welcome to Art Appreciation. We are in week 6, midterms na tayo. And in the next weeks, the next 3 weeks, no, we will uncover module 6 to 9. And module 6 to 9 is all about the art and artisans, their production process, the medium, the technique, and the curation process that they have utilized. So for this week, our focus is all about visual arts. This is why our case study for the week is the Mona Lisa. No? For visual arts, we will focus on painting. And then by next week, we will move to sculpture. And in the week after, this week, no, would be music. So, ayan, series of lectures siya about medium and technique. And that, hopefully, by the end of that 3 weeks, you know very well what we mean by medium and its difference to technique and why is these two things importante siyang maintindihan ninyo, no? So let's start first with medium. Now medium comes from the Latin word medium. No, it denotes the means by which an artist communicates their idea, the stuff out of which they create now their artwork, and all of the materials that the artists use to translate their feelings or thoughts into a beautiful reality. Okay, so when we talk of medium, there are many different things, of course, that an artist can use. An artist can use pigment. No, some of them will sculpt their artwork in stone. Some of them will carve it in woods. Some of them will make a use of a cement or bronze, steel. For those who are into the literary world, of course, the use of words, to produce poems, books, novels, and whatever it is that they'd like to produce in terms of what they would like to say. And then, of course, the use of music, or sounds for those who are composing music. So all of these are medium, These are the tools by which an artist used not to create his subject and to convey the message that he would like to tell to the world. So on the basis of medium, the arts are primarily classified as visual and auditory. And for visual, the visual spaces are those mediums who can be seen and it occupies spaces. And this can be further categorized into two classes. So first would be two-dimensional. No? The first category, two-dimensional arts includes painting, drawing, printmaking, and even photography. Now, dun sa second na classification, which is commercial art and decorative art, dyan naman papasok yung community planning, industrial design, ceramics, and even furniture making. Now, another would be the auditory. Time arts are those type of medium that can be heard and which are expressed now in time, just as when you are producing a musical piece. The combined arts are those whose medium can be both seen and heard, just like in movies, diba? They both use the visual art component and the auditory component, to produce a certain movie. And this exists both in space and time. So again, sa auditory, pwedeng time art siya, pwedeng combined arts na rin siya. So again, all of these are important, because when you get to classify a medium, you get to understand yung production process ng artist. Okay? So again, people, there are two types, of medium. Pwedeng visual, and sa visual, you have two-dimensional and commercial and decorative art. And for the auditory, you have time arts and combined arts. Now, moving forward, what the artist thinks and feels are given shape, by the medium that they have selected. When the artist chooses their medium, they believe that this can actually best express the idea that they want to convey. Most often, an artist would employ more than one medium to give meaning to their creative production. This is part of the artistic inspiration, the distinctive character of the medium now determines the way it can be worked on and turned into a work of art. The nature of each medium now determines how a work of art may be realized. Okay, kasi may effect no yung medium doon sa magiging possible na technique na gagamitin ng artist. And of course, yung medium yung magde-define ngayon, ano ba yung magiging product. Okay. So kung visual artist yan, painter, edi of course, gagamit siya ng maraming uh, types, no? Ng paint, no? And he has to decide first, what type of paint will I use? Watercolor ba? Mag-acrylic ba ako? Mag-oil painting ba ako? Magpa-pastel ba ako? Crayons? Or just simply charcoal? Magbe-base ba? So marami kasing types ng medium, no? And then, once they have selected the medium, they have to also think about the technique. Paano ko gagamitin yung medium na pinili ko, no? So, dito papasok ngayon yung technique, no? Nakapili na ako no watercolor. Ngayon, paano ko gagamitin yung watercolor? That's the technique, no? Technique is the manner in which the artist now controls their medium to achieve a desired effect. Okay? So again, at the back of the mind of an artist, bago pa niya yan guhitan or i-paint yung subject niya, meron na siyang naiisip, no, na nako-conceptualize na technique, okay, para ma-achieve yung kanyang gustong desired effect. It is the ability now, no, with which the artist fulfills the technical requirement of a particular work of art. And normally, of course, the style of the artist affects the technique. Ano bang pina-follow niyang tradition, 'di ba? Siya ba ay modernist? Siya ba ay impressionist? Siya ba ay classical? Ano yung nire-require ng painting, no? Kung still life ito, paano ko siya mapagmumukhang still life talaga? So, there are many different techniques no in painting. And later, when we get to the case study of Mona Lisa, you'll understand that in terms of technique, there are many techniques that Leonardo made use in order to produce such an artwork. So, ano ba yung mga example ng mga technique? No? One could be filling in shape, another outlining a shape, dabbing, no, streaking, pwede ring i-blend yung colors, pwede ring i-scumble yung colors, pwede ring i-overpaint yung one color to the other, pwede ring wet on wet, as graffito, textures, and dry brush. Now, when you talk of technique, it also has to do with the way now the artist manipulates the work of art and the way he manipulates the medium in order to express ideas. Because an artist can actually use one or in the same medium, but they will use a different technique. So pwedeng, for example, acrylic lahat yung gagamitin nila, pero yung artist na to ang pinili niya dry brush approach, no? Or gradient approach. Yung isa naman, ang pinili niya washing thin paint approach. Iba sa splattering. So iba-iba, no? Again, it will depend now on the style. Wet on wet ba? Pouring ba? Impasto ba? Gaya ni ano no ni Vincent Van Gogh, impasto yung ginamit niyang technique no sa Starry Night. Palette knife ba? Gel medium ba? Again, actually, the artist can also combine, no? And times nakita niyan may gradient, 'di ba? Na color, tapos nag-i-impasto or gradient palette knife. So, bakit importante nyo tong malaman, no? So that when you get to see a painting, you'll understand na may proseso na pinagdadaanan yung painting na yan, no? Hindi lang basta nag-color-color. Nag-iisip talaga ang artist, ano bang gusto kong i-achieve na effect, no? And that, I'll use a technique for it para ma-achieve ko yung gusto kong ma-achieve doon sa painting na yan. So again, in terms of medium, the medium is what you will use. Technique is how you will use now the medium. Okay, so ano ba yung mga types sir ng mga mediums for visual arts? So one would be watercolor, no? Watercolor as a medium is tricky to handle because it is difficult to produce warm and rich tones. While changes may be made once the paint has been applied, such changes normally tend to make the color less luminous. This defect, however, are rendered by watercolor artists, no, through some techniques. So again, we have watercolor. Now, another would be in the form of fresco painting, such as the creation of Adam and the rest of the paintings in the Sistine Chapel. This is a painting on a moist plaster surface with colors ground in water or lime water mixture. The colors dry in the plaster and the picture now becomes part of the wall. Fresco must be done quickly, but because it is really an exacting medium kasi you're dealing with plaster no, at may tawag dun sa plaster na yon, no? So fresco painting is a work of wall or ceiling art created by applying pigment onto intonaco. So yun po yun, yung intonaco, yun yung thin layer of plaster na ginagamit at hinahaluan ng kulay para ayun, magawa yung design over a wall painting. So basically, when you talk of fresco, fresco in Italian would mean fresh. No? As true to fresco's intonaco, when wet paint is applied. Right? So, kailangan very exacting kasi mahirap magkamali no? Pag nag-smudge ka dyan, hindi lang naman paint yung ini-smudge mo. Ang i-smudge mo, pati yung plaster. So, kailangan exacting talaga, no? Kapag pinaint mo na yung color, decided ka na yun talaga yung gusto mong i-achieve na color effect. Another is the use of tempera. You get to see this technique being utilized. Meron pa rin mga gumagamit nito, pero mas common ito sa mga 1500, 1600, even in the 1800s na paintings. No? Ang tempera is you're using paints that are mineral pigments, no? Then you mix it with egg yolk or egg white and ore. They are often used as a binder, no, due to its film-forming properties and rapid drying rate. Now, why do you use this? Most painters use this, no, to, lalo na kung gusto nilang i-curate talaga, no? Mas matagal kasi, tumatagal talaga, no, yung painting kapag kaganyan yung approach. Okay? So, moving forward, people, wait lang. Okay? So, moving forward, when we talk of tempera, okay, you're using the medium ng paggamit ng egg yolk, egg white, or ore. Now, another medium that you get to use is pastel. No? This is a stick of dried paste made of pigments greyhound with chalk and compounded with gum water. Its colors are luminous and it's very flexible medium. Some artists use a fixing medium or a protecting surface such as glass. But when the chalk rubs, the picture now loses with some of its brilliance. Another is encaustic. No? Encaustic is one of the earliest medium used by Egyptians for the painted portrait in mummy cases. So this is done by painting with wax colors fixed with heat. Painting with wax produces luster and radiance in the subject, making them appear at their best in portraits. And then, no, the one that we will study today, okay, after this lecture is the Mona Lisa. And Mona Lisa is actually done using oil painting. No? Ang medium Leonardo da Vinci is oil. And it's one of the most expensive art activities to date because of the prohibitive cost of materials. So in oil painting, pigments are mixed with linseed oil and applied to the canvas. One good quality of oil paint as a medium is its flexibility. The artists use brush, palette knife, or even their bare hands when applying in the canvas. In some cases, we do not even notice the artist's strokes because the paint is applied very smoothly. And painting done in oil is actually glossy and will last longer. Biruin nyo 500 years na, no? But we still get to appreciate, diba, the work of Leonardo in terms of the Mona Lisa. Now, most contemporary painters would make use of acrylic as their medium. So this is more popular because of the transparency and quick drying characteristics of the watercolor and its flexibility of oil combined in acrylic. This synthetic paint is mixed with acrylic emulsion binder for coating the surface of the artwork. Acrylic paints do not tend to break easily, unlike oil paints which turn yellowish or darker over a long period of time. So again, yun yung comparison to oil painting. Kasi talaga, over time, gaya nitong nakita natin sa Mona Lisa, it turned yellow and it became darker over time because of the component of oil. Now, mosaic art is picture or decoration made of small pieces of inlaid colored stones or glass called tesserae, which most often are cut into squares, then glued onto a surface with plaster of cement. Mosaic is usually classified as painting, although the medium used is not strictly pigment. Another would be in the form of stained glass. Now, stained glass as an artwork is common in Gothic cathedrals and churches. This made by combining small pieces of colored glass which are held together by bands of lead. And another would be tapestry, no? And tapestry, this is a fabric consisting of warp upon which colored threads are woven by hand to produce a design, often pictorial and for wall hangings and furniture coverings. During the Middle Ages, they were hung onto the walls and palaces and in cathedrals on festive occasions to provide warmth. Another is drawing. And this is the most basic of all, no? Importante na ang artist, no? Alam niya to, no? So drawing is usually done on paper using pencil, pens, ink, or charcoal. And that, again, this is the most fundamental of all of the skills necessary to produce an artwork. Now, in drawing, of course, drawing can be done with different kinds of medium, and the most common is pencil. And this is why your pencils has numbers. Kasi yung degree ng hardness and softness ng graphite nakadepende sa number na ginagamit. No? For line work, hard pencil, lead is applied. Another, in terms of drawing, would be the use of ink. No? It's one of the oldest medium that is still used today, and it offers a great variety of qualities depending on the tools and techniques used in applying the ink on the surface. Another would be bistre. Now, bistre is brown pigment extracted from soot or wood and often used and washed drawings. Soot, a black powdery or flaky substance consisting largely of amorphous carbon produced by incomplete burning of an organic matter. Another, no, this one you have utilized already is the crayons, no? And crayons are pigment bound by wax and compressed into a painted sticks used for drawing, especially among children in the elementary grade. They adhere better on paper surface. Another would be silver point. And silver point is the medium, the artist that has technique of drawing with a silver stylus on specially prepared paper to produce a thin grayish line that was popularly used during or popular during the Renaissance period. And lastly, printmaking. Printmaking is anything printed on a surface that is a direct result from duplicating process. Ordinarily, the painting or graphic image is done in black ink or white paper and becomes now the artist's plate. In order to produce prints, of course, the printmaker has to use a certain technique, no? So, pwedeng woodcut, no? This is made from a piece of wood. The design stand as a relief and the remaining surface of the block being cut away. A wood block print, just as what the letter of a typewriter does, no? The line of the design are wood, so they are very fine. Woodcuts can be identified because of their firm, clear, and black lines. Another is engraving. Engraving, this is a form of design by cutting, corrosions by acids. In engraving, the lines of the design are cut into a metal plate with ink and transferred from plate to the paper. The lines of an engraving are cut by hand with an instrument called burin and a steel tool with oblique point and rounded handle for carving with stone and engraving metal. Third would be intaglio. Intaglio is a printing process in which the design or the text is engraved into the surface of the place and the ink is transferred to a paper from the groover. The design is engraved or etched now into a metal plate, which becomes now the pattern for the print. And then, of course, stencil printing, no? You get to see this no sa mga print shops no stencil printing pa rin sila yung mga nagpe-print sa damit, sa mga bags no. Pwede kasing manual rin yan, pwede rin digital na stencil. So stencil printing is cutting of the design on a special appear cardboard or metal sheet in such a way that when the ink is rubbed over it, the design now is produced or reproduced on the surface. And lastly is the use of relief. No? It involves the cutting away from a block of wood or linoleum parts of the design that the artist wants to be seen. Now, leaving the portion of the design to stand out on a block or on a linoleum. So all of these, no, different 5 types of print making no, are being utilized to produce a certain print. So all of these will fall still under visual arts. Now, next week, we will talk about the types of medium for sculpture. Okay? So people, um,